Hi, this is Liz Heiman, and I'd like to welcome you to the Sales Experts channel. For those of you who've been with me before, or who've been with the Sales Experts channel before, welcome back. We're so glad to have you here today. And for those of you who haven't been to the Sales Experts channel, I encourage you to get to know the Sales Experts channel. There are so many amazing presenters, so much amazing content. This is the stuff that will help you on your journey through difficult times and great times to be excellent salespeople and excellent sales leaders. So thank you for being here. If you have any questions during this presentation, you can put them right in the chat section. So in fact, why don't you do that right now? Tell me where you're from. Say hello to me. Let me know you're out there. I know that there are a number of you, I can tell, you're with me today. So please go ahead and let me know you're here. And also let me know you can hear me okay. If you have a problem with sound or anything else during this presentation, there is a Bright Talk help button. Please find that button and somebody will help you. So again, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Liz Heiman, and I am the Startup Sales Ops expert. And my goal in life is to take the mystery out of sales, to make sales manageable, and to make sales predictable. I'm a consultant and strategist, and I help companies develop and rebuild sales organizations to support scaling businesses. So if you'd like to scale or grow, you're in the right place. So before we get started, I want to encourage you to ask questions. I really, really love when you guys ask questions or share thoughts. So there's a spot there. Oh, good, you're already started. There's Texas and Nashville. So welcome, welcome. And please feel free throughout the presentation, if you have questions or you have thoughts or you disagree, that's great. Put it in there. If I don't answer you, I will answer you at the end, okay? So just hang in there with me and we'll get through it and get to all of your questions. I want to remind you that there is an attachments link or attachments and links. If you look for that, you can find the presentation and download it if you have not. I know sometimes people ask for that. And I also have a number of articles that you can read and other places that you can go for some great information. So let's just jump right in and talk about why sales teams struggle. The truth is, there are a lot of reasons that sales teams struggle. For example, when a product is so new that it doesn't yet have a clearly defined market, that can be difficult for a sales team, but not insurmountable. However, when the company culture doesn't support the sales teams struggle. When there are delivery problems that undermine sales, your sales team will struggle. When the sales tools don't work or the team is lacking critical skills, your sales team will struggle. When sales managers and sales leaders are lacking critical coaching and management skills, your sales team will struggle. All of that is true. And in almost all cases, if your sales team, your whole sales team is struggling, it's a leadership issue. But today I want to talk about 3 very specific leadership issues that you can take care of right now, today, to help your sales team be more successful. And this is particularly true when you're selling at difficult times, but it's always true for a sales team. When they have a clear market position, a clear ideal customer profile, and the right value proposition to support them, they will do much better as a team, selling successfully, opening up relationships, and closing business. So that's specifically what we're going to talk about today. Sometimes that button just doesn't work. There we go. So if one or two of your salespeople are struggling, that's a different issue. Take a careful look at their skills and their mindset. Can they be trained or inspired to be successful? Let's face it, not all people are meant to be salespeople, and not all sales positions are right for every sales rep. We tend to think that if it's a sales job, any salesperson can do it, and that's just simply not true. So make sure you have the right people in the right place with the right skills and the right mindset, and they will have a better chance of being successful. So if there's one or two people, that's what you want to look for. However, again, if many of your salespeople are struggling, then it's time to look at leadership. Have you given the sales team all of the things that they need to succeed? And we talked about some of them just a few minutes ago. But let's talk really specifically right now about market position, ideal customer profile, and value proposition. A strategy that helps you hit your revenue target consistently always includes market position, ideal customer profile, and value proposition. Specifically, you need to understand your market position in order for your salespeople to know how to talk about your product. You need to identify your ideal customer so that you are selling to the right people, and you need to define the right value proposition so the message to those people is the right message at the right time. So let's make sure we have this hammered out. Let's talk a little bit about market position. I like to think of market position in the simplest of ways. What do your customers think of when they think of your company or product? It's really that simple. And if they don't think of anything, that means you're not positioned at all. So, and the other question is, how are you positioned in your customer's eyes compared to your perceived competition? So let's think about this just a little bit more. If you were selling motorcycles, right? Which part of the market are you really going after? How do you want to be perceived in the marketplace by your customer? One of my favorite examples is, I don't know if you guys remember that old commercial, "This is not your father's Oldsmobile." They're saying we've been positioned as an old man's car, and we want to be positioned as a young man's car. Stake your claim and make sure your team is very clear about the market position and that you've staked out, and the language you use to explain it and why. So let's kind of talk about what we see up here. If you are not clear about the market you're going after and you are selling Hondas and you're trying to sell to Harley dudes or bikers, you're not going to be successful. You have to be very clear about which part of the market you want and which part of the market is going to be most profitable for you. There are lots of ways to think about positioning. The easiest way to understand it is to think about the products you love best and how they're positioned in the marketplace. Whether you're thinking about your favorite workout gear, your car, or computer, you have a pretty good idea about how they position themselves. So for instance, is the thing that you're buying the economical choice? Is that why you purchased it? Is it the sustainable choice? Maybe that's really important to you. Is it tried and true? Is it, we used to talk about IBM as being true blue. That's tried and true. And is it the simple solution? Is it the creative solution? Is it the one with the most bells and whistles? Whatever it is, if your team is trying to sell it and they don't understand your market position, they'll be missing the mark and likely missing their target. So market position is about how you want your customer to understand you and how you want your sales team to be talking about your product and which part of the market they're after. So let's move on and let's talk about, and if you have any questions about that, now's a great time to stop me and ask questions. I'd love to answer them. The second thing that I really want to talk about is the ideal customer. So we all have some sort of a target list that we have decided that we're selling to. All maybe we're selling to all companies over 500 million that sell to consumers. That would be a really big target market. But when we start talking about ideal customer, we want to talk really specifically. And the reason is that one of the biggest problems our sellers have is setting and sticking to priorities. Salespeople have limited selling time, and the most important thing they can do is sell the right thing to the right customer. They should never waste precious time trying to sell to the wrong customers. And they need your leadership to guide them. That's why it's so important to clearly define who the ideal customer is. So let's talk a little bit about defining your ideal customer. If you think about it, really your ideal customers are the ones that your solution works best for. And why is that? Well, because if you are selling to the people who will be happiest with your solution, everything falls in line after that. If you narrow down your ideal customer description that way, your sellers can quickly qualify out those leads that don't fit. And therefore, they know the better the fit between your solution and the customer. Here's the magic. The shorter the sales cycle, the longer the customer relationship, and the easier the customer relationship is over that time period. And all of that adds to bottom line. And it helps keep your sales team from struggling. So the closer we can get to truly understanding who our ideal customer is, the better our results will be all the way around. We'll close more business, we'll close it more quickly, we'll close higher level deals, higher value deals, and we'll keep our customers longer and they'll be more profitable. What more could we want? And it comes down to really understanding who the right customers are. So you've already got your sellers on the right track by clarifying your positioning. Now it's time to be very clear about your ideal customer. Not everyone who rides a motorcycle is Honda's ideal customer. In fact, not everyone who wants a Honda is Honda's ideal customer. Can they pay for the bike? Can they ride it safely? What makes them an ideal customer? To determine your ideal customer, look at two things: demographics and psychographics. Hang on a second, you guys. I need to hold on just a second. I'm so sorry about that. I all of a sudden had somebody blowing our weeds in the outside my window, and I couldn't hear a thing. So I'm so sorry for that little disturbance. And he had his earmuffs on and couldn't hear me. So let's go back to what we were just saying. So demographics and psychographics is where we really want to focus, okay? So you guys probably have that demographic thing down. You're probably really clear about the elements of company size, industry, geography, revenue. These are all things that you guys talk about regularly. Technology systems that connect with your product or service might also be one of the demographics you use. You might care about who their client is. Are they selling B2B or B2C? Are they selling to tech companies? Are they selling to car companies? Those things might matter. Whatever it is, demographics are facts that you can measure. Within the slice of the market you're going after, you can narrow to ones that fit best. And that's what you want to do. Narrow, narrow, narrow. Okay, so let's talk about the other side of this, which is way harder, because we always start with psychographics. We always start with the demographics, but now I want to talk about the psychographics, which are really very different. Psychographics are about the things that make customers good customers or bad customers. Psychographics aren't easy to measure. They often refer to attitudes, They could include their ideas about how they treat clients or vendors. Like, so if you have customers that treat their clients, their vendors really lousy, and they always have procurement in the way, and procurement's always beating down your price, maybe that's not who you want to be working with. Maybe you want somebody who partners with their vendors. So those are the kinds of things that you can't clearly measure, and it isn't easy to find out, but you want to find out, because this will make your relationships work or not work. And you want to help your salespeople to look for ways to identify this and qualify out those companies that are not going to be good partners. So do they pay their bills on time? Do they partner with their clients and vendors? Do the people they work with have integrity? Are they interested in the lowest price, or are they looking for the best solution? Do they blame past vendors for all the problems they had without taking any responsibility? Well, that's a pretty good idea that they are not a good vendor-conscious person or vendor-conscious company. And we want relationships that we can partner with. Once we're clear about our ideal customer, we can think about the very next thing, which is value proposition. And that really is the how do we talk to the right customer in the right way. So your value proposition starts and ends with how your solution solves your customer's problem. Really simple. How does my solution solve my customer's problem? It encapsulates what makes your company offering unique and valuable. So if I can't answer those questions, starting with what is my customer's problem, I then really need to go back and think about my value proposition so I can answer those questions. The biggest problem for most companies and most sellers is that they start with benefits and then they try to find a problem. But that's not how it works. You have to start with a problem and end with a solution. So let's work on defining the right value proposition. I work with a lot of sales and marketing teams that rely on value propositions that clearly don't resonate with their market. If your value prop flops routinely, you need to take some time to reevaluate and figure out why it's not helping you engage with the market. To build an effective value proposition that will motivate your buyers to act, again, you have to start by focusing on their problems and couch it in their language. You know, I try to get people to really get inside the head of their buyer. And I want, you know, I'll say, well, what is your buyer trying to do? And the answer is they're not trying to buy the product that you're selling. They didn't wake up one morning and go, gosh, I really want to spend some money on this software. They woke up one morning and said, every time I try to do this, it doesn't work and it makes me crazy. We got to find a solution, right? And then they started to think about what were the possible solutions. So if you start talking to them from the solution perspective before you ever fully understand their problem, you're missing out on a real conversation that will help you successfully sell. So we want to make sure that our value propositions always start with the problem. And I see there's a question about psychographics. I'm going to go back to that in just a minute. Thank you for sharing it. So my formula for a value proposition is pretty simple. What is the customer's problem? How do you solve it? And why is that the best solution for your ideal customer? Right? Not just for any customer, but your value proposition should be speaking directly to your ideal customer. You are positioned in the market to solve this specific problem. I bet you didn't think I was going to tie this all together, but here we are. Your positioning in the market ties to your customer's specific problems. We solve this problem. We solve it in this way, and it is the best solution for my ideal customer because. Now, for other potential customers, somebody else might be a better solution, and guess what? That's fine. Let them have them, because if you try to get the wrong customer, and you try to cram your solution down their throat, what's going to happen? You already know it's going to be miserable. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. They're never going to be happy. They're going to say bad things about you. They're going to make your people crazy. You're going to wish they weren't your client. So don't make them your client. Remember to focus on your ideal customer. And if you do that, if you start your value proposition this way, and you really start by thinking about the problem that they have, you'll know pretty quickly whether or not they fit your ideal customer. The other thing that I want to say about this is that there is not one value proposition that solves every problem. So you do want to develop a company value proposition. That's hugely, hugely important. But it's also important to understand that every buyer sees the problem differently. If you talk to the CEO, they're going to have a totally different concept about the problem than the technician is going to have, or than the finance people are going to have, or the HR people are going to have. They're going to see the problem differently. So your value proposition has to speak to the individual buyer's specific kinds of problems. So you need your company value proposition, but at some point, you really need to break it down smaller and figure out who are the different kinds of buyers they have. And although this won't be perfect every time, you can start to understand what kinds of problems do they specifically have that our solution can solve, and how do they talk about it. And you can create value propositions that help you speak to every different kind of buyer in your buying situation. So I want to take a break now and go back to the concept of psychographics. And if you guys have more questions, please, please, please share them. So the question is, in regards to psychographics, how do we get access to the information if it's a new acquisition? And the problem is, I mean, it's kind of hard to ask, are you getting your bills paid? They're probably not going to answer that for you. But you can look at what other people are saying about them. You can ask questions that help them to give you that information. For instance, when we ask really early on about the buying process, what is your buying process? Who gets involved in this? Who has to sign off on this? How long does it typically take? What role does procurement play? What role does legal play? We never want to ask those questions, but when we start really kind of digging in, so let me back up. You get so excited by the fact that, and we're salespeople, right? We get so excited by the fact that, oh my gosh, they're interested. They're really interested. I'm going to sell this. And the last thing we want to think about is whether or not there could be a potential problem. We just want to close that business because we're salespeople, or because we're business owners, or because we're sales leaders, right? And we want that problem. We want it. We want that business. We want that problem solved for them. We want to sell them something. And so we don't ask the difficult questions. But if you really start asking, ask them, okay, help me understand, what was your last solution? How did that work? What went wrong? Why aren't you still using it? Tell me about other similar things that you purchased. How did that go? Did it solve the problem? Was everybody able to implement it? Was the tech team able to get that solved and put online quickly? So if you think about the things that matter to you and you start asking the questions to them that will help you uncover that, then you'll know whether or not they're the right psychographics for you. And sometimes you don't know until you get pretty far into the deal. And I actually have encouraged people at the very last minute, I've encouraged salespeople and companies at the very last minute to back out of a deal, because it's very clear that this is not an ideal customer. They're getting down to the signing of the contract, and they're really beginning to see true colors. Well, maybe we couldn't get that one screened out early on, but maybe before you sign that contract, it's time to stop and say, do we want to invest? Because every time we sell something, we're investing in that customer, unless we're just selling a product that they purchase and walk away. But if we're actually selling them something that requires a long-term relationship and support, we're investing, not just getting something in return. So that is, I don't know if that answered your questions about psychographics, but, and I'm not sure who asked that question, but what you're welcome to do, I'm going to give you some information about how to reach me. And if you want to talk more about psychographics one-on-one, we can definitely do that. So let's talk a little bit about what are our key takeaways for today. So the key takeaway is if we want our salespeople to be successful, if we want our team to be successful, we have to lead. And one of the ways that we lead is by giving them the information they need to prioritize the leads that are coming into them. And if they're supposed to be outbound getting leads, then it will help them figure out where to focus their time. So we want to be really clear about who our market, what our market positioning is, what problem we solve for whom. We really want to be clear about our ideal customer profile, and we really want to be clear about our value proposition. Your team is far less likely to struggle when you give them those three components. And I know it sounds so simple, but it changes everything for your sales team when they actually have those things. Okay, so here's the really interesting question. So what if you have clearly defined and explained all of these things, and leadership is consistent with sales and marketing around these things, and your sales and marketing team can easily explain all of these concepts to you and to their customer, and your sales team still isn't doing well? Well, if that's the case, then it's time to talk to an expert, and I would be more than happy to talk to you about how to look for the specific skills and tools your sales team and sales leaders need in order to be successful. But again, start with these. If you can start with these three simple things, you will be a step ahead. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to give you some information, and we have another question that I want to answer. But I want you guys, while you're sitting here, to write this information down. You can send me a LinkedIn request at Liz Heiman. It's pretty simple. You can send me a Twitter at Liz R. Heiman. You can always send me an email, liz@aliceheiman.com. Alice is my business partner and sister, and we've been working together for many, many years. That's why it's liz@aliceheiman.com. Here's our phone number, and I have given you in the links, there is a link to schedule a 30-minute conversation with me. That is completely free, is just to help answer your questions from this. So please feel free to use it. Okay, so I'm going to leave that up there, and here's a question. We're being asked to send emails to potential customers and capture their interest in a 2 to 3 sentence email. I'm finding this to be difficult because I feel that I'm selling myself short. Do you have a suggestion on how to approach this? Well, again, yes and no. This is a really hard way to sell, okay? If you back up and you say, okay, I get hundreds of emails every day, and I have time to carefully read maybe 50 of them, or carefully read maybe 20 of them, and skim through maybe 50 of them, and most of them get lost in my spam filters. I've got more spam filters than I know what to do with Google and Microsoft, and then there's clutter, and then there's, I don't know, every time I turn around, I have like 6 different places I have to look for my emails. So guess what? Your clients are having the same things. The people you're sending emails out to may not even be getting your emails. That's the first thing. So if you're sending mass emails, great, but know that most people are never getting them. Now, if you're sending individual emails to individual people, then what you want to do is make sure that you are doing research on them and their company before you send the email. I know, it takes a lot of time. But if you go to LinkedIn, you look them up, find out what's going on with their company, and then don't just send the email to one person. So if you have multiple buyers in your sale, go to multiple buyers. So say, okay, if I'm selling to hospitals and I'm selling a technology problem, a solution, typically these 5 people are involved. So let me see if I can find those 5 people. If I can't find those 5 people, who can I find? What can I find about the company, the hospital, about their initiatives, about their problems? Now, when I sit down to write that individual email, what I want to do is say, okay, this one I'm writing to the technician. And what technicians typically tell me is that when they try to get the data off of the system, they get it in ways that they can't use, and they have to put it into an Excel spreadsheet and sort and blah, 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 blah. I'm making stuff up now, as you can tell. So what I want to say specifically to that person is something like, when I talk to other people with your title, which you're going to put the title in, I hear that they're really struggling with getting usable data from their systems. We have a way to help you get that data out quickly and easily so that you can use it immediately to solve the problems you're trying to solve, right? So you're speaking specifically, and then you say to the CEO, hey, we know that you're losing thousands of dollars every day because your team is wasting, on average, 100 hours a week on reformulating data. We can help you save that money and use that time more productively, right? So you want to make sure that you're having the right conversation with the right person. But I would, if I were you, I would look at a concept called account-based marketing. And we actually have an article on it on our blog, which I've also given you the link. But the idea of account-based marketing, and sorry, we didn't get into that in this, but the idea of account-based marketing is that you're sending multiple messages to multiple people in a variety of ways across a number of different channels. So if I were going to sell to a specific hospital, say I picked 5 hospitals that I was going to sell to, then I would say, make a plan for all of those people, and I'm going to send them an email, and I'm going to send them a text message, and I'm going to link in with them, and I'm going to send them a card, and I'm going to send them all these different things with all these different messages. And you map it all out and use that as a mechanism for communicating in the right way with the right people, making sure that you focus on value proposition. So someone asked, can we share the seminar with others? Absolutely, you can. If you just, there's a link at the very top of your browser that you can copy and paste, or you can just look up my name and it will have a list of all of my seminars that I've done, and you can pick any of them and share them with your team, and they're all recorded. They can listen to them anytime they want. So I encourage you to do that, and also look at all the other sales experts. You might find some great things in there. Okay, another question is, how do you deal with a senior salesperson who doesn't embrace changes in your industry but handles some key accounts? Wow, that is really, really hard. You know, we have modern sellers and we have old-fashioned sellers, and if you are not a modern seller in a modern environment, you will not be successful. And if your sales leader is undermining your ability to succeed, then I would be looking for an organization that has modern sellers and modern sales leaders. I hate to say that, but there are great sales organizations out there that you can be a part of and are dying to have good, solid, modern sellers who will do all that crazy research and thinking and specializing. The other thing that you can do is you can share. I have lots of articles. You can call me or send me an email and send me specifically what changes that are not embracing, and I can give you some articles to share with them. I would be happy to get on the phone with them and talk to them a little bit about how to succeed. And this is a great opportunity for changing people, because we are in the middle of one of the strangest economic and financial and selling environments we've ever been in our lives. And so what we have to do right now is think really clearly about what has to change. We have to become better sellers. In order to succeed, we have to focus on being the best sellers we can be and using our skill sets as well as we can use them. So it's a great time to get people to change, because what maybe you got away with a week or two, or rather a month or two ago, you can't get away with anymore. You just simply can't, because your buyers are so distracted. They are not able to put up with the kinds of nonsense that has been going on in sales for so many years. So I'd be happy to talk to them or to send them any articles that you think would be helpful. But I think showing your successes is a big part of getting people to make changes. So if you can show them why it's successful, that it's worked here and why it's worked here, that will bring you some success, hopefully. All right, well, I don't see any more questions. Again, I do want to apologize for that crazy noise in the middle and me trying to get the guy who was blowing the weeds away. Thanks for your patience on that. Anyway, you guys all have a great day. And again, please feel free to connect with me. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, make sure that you tell me how you found me, so I know, and I'm sure to give you things that are useful. I have some great articles on selling in these crazy times. So if you are interested in that, send me a note on LinkedIn and let me know, and I'll send you some of the articles we've written about overcoming these difficult selling situations. So all of you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for spending your time with me today, and I look forward to hearing from you. I'll stay here just a couple minutes in case there are any other questions, but you guys all feel free to jump off if you don't have any questions. To those of you who are sending me thank yous, you're so welcome. Please, like I said, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk to you more. Okay, well, have a great day. I'm going to sign off now. Take care.